And here now for a fair and balanced debate on the Massachusetts Senate race, Democratic consultant Nick Leibham and former communications director for Republican Senator Richard Burr and former Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele, Doug Heye. Gentlemen, good to see you both. And Nick, let me start with you. You don't need to be a political analyst to know that if ever there was a seat the Democrats should have no trouble hanging on to, it's the seat held by the Kennedy family for almost half a century. Am I right?
I think that you're absolutely right. I think that Martha Coakley, though a very formidable attorney general and has run very formidable races in the past, has quite frankly become quite complacent during this race, and it's kind of snuck up and bit her in the backside.
Doug, I don't know of any Democrat who hadn't been predicting losses in the midterm election come this November. But if they lose Massachusetts, if Coakley doesn't pull this out and Brown goes off and wins this race, what do you think that will mean for Democratic losses nationwide come the midterm?
Well, it certainly sends the signal. You look at key races like Colorado, Michael Bennett's in a tough primary and has a tough re-election. Blanche Lincoln in Arkansas, really embattled incumbent Democrat. They're scared by what these results mean. They're already scared because the polls are so close, because this is a state that really shouldn't come into play. And, you know, I'll steal your line a little bit. You also don't need to be a political analyst to know that in Massachusetts, you don't insult Catholics and you don't insult the Red Sox. This is part of the tone-deaf campaign that Coakley has run, and really a symbol of why she's in the trouble she is.
You should just stayed away from the whole baseball thing altogether. Nick, let me ask you this because I want to get your response. The former chair of your party, Howard Dean, today quoted in an interview with the Associated Press, we want to put it up on the screen. He says, "Our base is demoralized." He said the Democrats really thought the revolution was at hand, but it wasn't, and now they, Democrats, are getting the back of the hand. Wow. Nick?
Well, I certainly can't speak for Howard Dean, but coming back to something that Doug Heye said, who is one of the most sophisticated and savvy analysts the GOP has, you can't compare apples with elephants. A special election in January has nothing to do with what's going to transpire in a general election come November. Special elections are about turning out your base, and they're played to either side, to use a football metaphor, to either side of the 20-yard lines. For the GOP, that means the teabag movement. As it concerns my party, the Democrats, that's going to mean the move-ons. That's going to mean the Ariana Huffington crowd, making sure that they're energized, that they get out to vote, that they're working for Martha Coakley.
Well, no one seems as energized. I'm sorry to jump in. I just want to make sure I get Doug in one more time before we run out of time. But nobody seems to be as energized by the independents, the political independents, who really seem to be turning the tide now away from the Democrats towards the Republicans. Doug, before we go, your take on this. If the Democrats lose that seat in Massachusetts, what happens to health care reform legislation?
Well, it quite possibly could be dead, and I'd argue, in a sense, the Democrats have already lost. The fact that we're talking about Ted Kennedy's seat demonstrates the real problem they're in. The New York Times today had a headline that said, "Democrats fret that they're in trouble." That's really an understatement. The Democrats know that this is really serious, and again, goes to some of those swing states like Colorado, Missouri, and Arkansas, where they've got tough battles already. This just puts it in cement. You know, we won New Jersey last year, and now we're talking about
Massachusetts on Tuesday. Nick, Doug, thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Plenty